Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a smashing, and smashing is the relative term, the operative term, pardon me, recording of Antheil, the original version of the Ballet Mécanique, which we all need to have. Now, in case you don't know who Antheil was, Antheil was an American composer in Paris in the 19 teens and 20s. He became known as the bad boy of music because of the Ballet Mécanique, which was scored for lots of pianos and percussion instruments. It was his way of exorcising, he said, the ghost of Stravinsky's Les Noces, which, as you may know, is written for 4 pianos and percussion. And I want to read to you what he had to say about this, because it's just marvelous. You know, later, he gave up being the bad boy of music and became one of the American neoclassicists, who I've spoken of in my series of fabulous concert programs. A really good composer, good, solid composer. He also was a journalist and an inventor. He collaborated with Hedy Lamarr on, creating anti-missile radar for during World War II and things like that. He was really an interesting guy. And he kept a Letters to the Lovelorn column as well in the newspapers. So, what couldn't he do? And he wrote well, and he wrote a biography, which is delicious. And this particular disc features the Boston Early Music Project. No, Boston Early Music. Who am I kidding? No, the Boston Modern Orchestra Project, not the Boston Early Music Project, just the opposite. The Boston Modern Orchestra Project under Gil Rose, and it also has his Jazz Symphony in its original version too, which is lots of fun. Let's see what he has to say. This is just great. That's why I just got to read this thing and turn you loose. It's on their own label, BMOP, right? The BMOP label. It's fabulous and noisy and loud and percussive. George Antheil wrote, "If the public still thinks of me at all, it probably thinks of me as the composer of this damned Ballet Mécanique. It is now strange for me to remember that I actually finished it as long ago as early 1925, 20 years ago." So he's writing in 1945. "Yet I am still listed among the, quote, young American composers, unquote. Therefore, the Ballet Mécanique has become to me what the C-sharp minor prelude must have become to Rachmaninoff. It is frankly my nightmare. This, in spite of the fact that since 1925, I have never again touched the idea of mechanism in music, either aesthetically or practically. Better men than myself have been longer remembered and damned for their youthful escapades or some flamboyant action than for their more sedate efforts. Don't get the idea, however, that just because I grouse and mumble here, I consider my Ballet Mécanique a mad youthful prank. It is a completely sincere, although possibly youthful work, but utterly representative of a very interesting period in the world's history. It has had a tremendous success in Paris, aroused the enthusiasm of an entire artistic generation, among them Jean Cocteau, Virgil Thomson, Eric Satie, even James Joyce. It has also been in bad repute in America, only because it once endured a wrongly advertised and badly presented performance in Carnegie Hall. In short, it became something else than what it really is, a myth." Now, I'm not going to read the rest of this because I think you should experience the myth for yourself, but it's a wonderful booklet, by the way. And they do give you the original orchestration, which you ought to know. Here we go. The Ballet Mécanique. It was composed in 1924, premiered in 1926 at the Théâtre Champs-Élysées in Paris, conducted by Vladimir Golshman, who later became the conductor of the St. Louis Symphony and made some recordings for like Vanguard and other labels. It's scored for, you ready? 16 player pianos in 4 parts, 2 regular pianos, 3 xylophones, 7 electric bells, 3 propellers, a siren, 4 bass drums, and a tam-tam. Of course, the tam-tam is the most important instrument. So, and a jazz symphony is in here too. You really ought to know what that is too. It's delightful. It's a 13-minute single movement work written for 2 oboes, 2 clarinets, soprano, alto, and tenor saxophone, 3 trumpets, 3 trombones, tuba, percussion, 2 banjos, 3 pianos, and a full string section. And that dates from 1925 and belongs right up there with Rhapsody in Blue, which dates from about the same period. and other American experiments in jazz and European experiments with American jazz, such as Milhaud's La Création du Monde, the creation of the world. Really, this is, as Antheil says, it's music of a time, music of its time and place, of the rhythmic revolution unleashed by Stravinsky in The Rite of Spring and later Les Noces. It is splendidly performed and recorded by the Boston Modern Orchestra Project, the early modern music orchestra, never mind, the Boston Modern Orchestra Project under Gil Rose on the BMOP label. And no collection is complete without it, even if you'll only listen to it once, if you get through it at all. And, it's an experience, let's just put it that way. An experience that Antheil very wisely never repeated, but which nonetheless doesn't diminish its importance, or, as he points out, the integrity with which he undertook the project in the first place. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you for joining me. Take care.